right, let's kick things off. I went to the Metallica No Repeat Weekend, Toronto takeover, whatever you want to talk about. And I'm doing this episode not to brag or that I spent $5,000. Isn't that cool? I want to talk about what $5,000 on a Metallica show gets you, because I've seen a lot of videos online from different influencers and different people in the industry talking about these super expensive things that you can get with a ticket instead of just getting a ticket. You can get these enhanced experiences. This is one. Another one that was really important lately was the Gene Simmons one, where you could spend $1,200 or something like that, or $12,000 or something, and you can get to be his roadie for the night, and you get a guitar and stuff like that. There's a lot of things you can get for these tickets, and I want to talk about this one because this is my band. Metallica is my band. This is the biggest band. I grew up with Kiss, but once I found Metallica, they became my favorite band. End all, be all. I learned to drum because of Lars. I've got every single CD. I've seen them a bunch of times. I could list almost their entire history. I'm a fan. So let's go in night by night, and I'll kind of tell you what happened, what we got, what we saw, and etc. So when I first received the email, it basically said your two big things for the Nothing Else Matters behind the scenes package, whatever you want to call it, was you get to walk on the stage, you get to go backstage, and you get to meet two members of the band. We'll talk more about why it's only two later. And these would be on different nights. So you weren't going to do everything in one night. You were going to get one on one day, one on another. They kind of split the entire group of us. Let's say there's 20 of us. 10 did one day, 10 did the other day, and then they reversed. So I knew the first day would be a tour day. The second day was going to be the meet and greet day. So got there early on the Thursday, because it was a Thursday and Saturday show. Friday was an off day. I got tickets for other things, and we'll talk about that. So got there around noon, 12:30 closer to 1 on Thursday, because we had to be at the Rogers Center for around 2 o'clock, because we had to check in with the booth and everything just to make sure everything was straight before we were allowed to get in. So got there around 2 o'clock, and they had two main tents out front that you'd walk up. You got to check in. They gave you 3 wristbands. You had one that was for the Blackbox Lounge, which we'll talk more about later. One for the Snake Pit, which was the floor. And then one was the color of group you're in. One was black, one was yellow. We were Team Yellow. You also received the Yeti, which I've left downstairs. You get a metal Yeti. It's about that big. It has a screw-off top like a regular Yeti, but the lid also rotates into 2 different options. So you can take it right off, and then one's got like a little nozzle, like sort of a Gatorade bottle style. So not bad. I've got a couple Yetis downstairs, and this is actually probably the best one that I've got. And we were ushered into the Rogers Center by one of the tour managers, I believe. I can't remember what his name is, but really nice guy. Had a lot of information. We were originally supposed to walk in and go straight down to the stage. However, we had to wait in the mezzanine walking area where all the concourse level is, because Pantera was still doing their sound check, and he admitted that this was late for them. Usually they were done way earlier. So not being able to go down to the stage and just kind of sit there and listen to Pantera do sound check was kind of nice. It was a nice little bonus. After a little while, I think they did 2 to 3 songs. We went down, walked down just like anyone else would to the floor, and we were able to walk on the stage before everything was set up. If you were at the concert, their stage this season or this tour is a circle. And we weren't allowed to walk around the whole circle. There was a good section, like a quarter of the stage, we were kind of able to go around. Suicidal Tendencies drum set was already set up. They didn't want us to go past that because, we don't want to touch that. And then the other side was going up the flight of stairs. We didn't want to get into that. We were around The drum risers for Lars, if you were at the show, this would have been the 4th set of drums. That's the section we were on. And yeah, we just kind of hung out there. We walked around a bit. He talked about the stage setup, what it was like to carry it around on tour, what it was like to set up, how fast they could do it. Yeah, just a great general question and answer about how they built the stage. Then we took a bunch of photos, came down, we walked around the floor a bit. They have the 9 big towers that you may have seen from the photos, and if you were there, the fun thing that he told us, and I really started to try and look for it, was because this is the 72 Seasons album tour, the production was really centered around the number 72, so if you notice the towers, there were 9 towers. Each tower on the bottom and on the top had 8 lights. 9 times 8, 72. There's a bunch of little Easter eggs like that throughout the production and throughout the set that they haven't told anybody, but if you kind of looked for it, you can kind of see it. So that was really cool. They were talking about how many tractor trailers they have, a whole lot of good knowledge. Like really, this guy had a ton of knowledge, which was really nice because I could see them just sending like a rookie out there and being like, yeah, this is the stage, isn't it great? Like, yeah, cool. But no, actually had a lot of good information, answered every question he could. Then we ended up going around the back and went through the backstage area. If you saw where Metallica was walking out, we went through there. And we walked around and we just got to see like how everything was set up in the back. They had the video production back there. As we were walking, a couple golf carts came by and all of the members of Pantera were on those. Zach Wilde, Charlie Benante, Phil Anselmo, Rex were all there. So that was cool kind of seeing them out of their element. They didn't stop. They didn't say hi or anything. They're working. They're busy. So we got it. But it was cool just to kind of wave and say hi. And then we just kind of walked the floor a little bit, and then we went up to the black lounge, which is the black box lounge, sorry. And that was kind of our hub for the tour. If you don't know what the black box lounge is, it's the WestJet lounge at the Rogers Center. It's back in the outfield. You've probably seen the big picture, the big logo of it. It's a big long hallway where we kind of got to hang out, and they had a lot of interactive stuff we could kind of interact and have fun with. They had a couple displays set up. They had a Ride the Lightning electric chair that we could sit in and get some photos with. They had sort of a 3D version of the Master of Puppets album, so you can stand behind the gravestones. They had a 72 Seasons area set up with the broken instruments in front. I'll be completely honest, it looked amazing, but I don't think I saw a single person take a photo in that. I saw photos in everything else, though. No offense to the album. It's Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets, though. I mean, come on. They had Lars's Hardwired for Self-Destruct drum kit there, which I almost freaking fainted when I saw that because, as I said at the beginning of this podcast, I grew up learning to drum by watching Lars, so being able to sit on that drum kit and not go crazy would have been completely out of my mind. They did not have drumsticks there, so I could not play the drum kit. However, they did have bass pedals set up, so I had to sit down, and I apologized to the guy in front of me. I said, I have to do this, and I did the for one, because I'm like, I just have to say that I did it. Like, I'm sorry. You want to throw me out, I apologize, but come on. And then the last part that was really cool was they had 3 guitars set up. One of James's, one of Kirk's, and one of Rob's, and you could put headphones in and play the guitars, and you could hear yourself actually play them. Now, this is something I did not know until later. We were talking to the guy who was doing the meet and greet with us, and he was talking about what we thought of the lounge, and we said, it was really cool with the instruments and stuff. And he said, yeah, we've ran into a couple times that they will be doing a production run, just making sure everything's there. And someone will say, oh, where's the blah, 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 blah guitar? And they'll say, oh, it's been up in the Black Box Lounge for like the past 10 shows. And I kind of let that go. I was like, oh, that's funny, haha. And then it hit me. Those guitars up there are not reproductions. Those are the guitars. So, like, on the last day before all this happened, I was holding James's white iron cross, and I'm like, That's the guitar. That's not just like, oh, we bought a second. No, that's the guitar. So that was cool finding that out later. What else? They had a couple sections set up with some kind of exhibits. They had a bit of setup that had a couple skateboards from their early days, some jackets, some stuff like that. They had another section which had some awards. They had the Grammy that they won there, which I thought was hilarious because I wanted to. I was the one guy. I'm like, thank God Jethro Tull's not here. Inside joke if you're not a Metallica fan. So that was nice having those little setups. And what else? They had a pinball machine, and that's about it. Other than that, they had a lot of food there and drinks, which was really nice. They had a really good spread there. That's something that shocked me so very much, was that they could have easily just done pizza. They could have easily just done pizza, hot dogs, normal stuff. They had food there. Like, there was sandwiches, there was pizza, there was hot dogs, but there was also salad, fruit, pasta. Like, they had food there. So that definitely plays into how much this costs, because I'm thinking, if I actually bought all of this food in the concession stands, which I don't think some of that's even available in the concession stands, it cost a pretty good penny. So that definitely played a factor. So after spending some time there, I finally ended up going down to the floor. You're able to leave the tour at any point, by the way. Like, anytime you're like, okay, I'm kind of done with this. This is kind of boring. You can go down to the floor and just chill in the snake pit until the show starts. This is one thing I definitely did not know, but does kind of might impact some people if they buy this package. If you do the whole tour, so if you do the stage tour, if you do the meet and greet, whichever, you will probably not be the first ones on the floor. Both days there was a whatever package or, get on the floor first tickets that were ahead of us. So if you see the new stage, it is a circle, but on two of the sides, it does drop a bit. So instead of the stage, I think the stage came to here on me at the high point, at the regular points. It goes to about my waist, if not my middle of my belly, on the lowest part. That's where everyone wanted to stand. So by the time we got down there, that area was kind of already filled up. So if you're someone who's like, I want to be in that section, I want to make sure I'm as close to James, Kirk, and Lars and Rob that's as close as I want to get, you're going to have to leave the tour early. Because even by the time we started the tour of the stage, there was already people on the outside being let in. So that's something to think about when you get this package, is if you want that perfect seat, the tours will impact where you're standing, just so you know. And then the band started. Suicidal Tendencies kicked off Thursday night. It was really cool to see them. I know of them. I know a couple of their songs. I'm not super familiar with them, but they really did a great job. Trujillo's boy is the bass player, and he kills it in the live setting. Really good job. I could tell a lot of people didn't know a lot of their stuff. Nobody was going completely crazy for them, and that'll be something that happens on the second show as well. But a solid band. Actually, I really want to start listening to more of their stuff. They ducked out after about 40 minutes. Pantera kicked in, which I've never seen Pantera live. I've actually never seen any of these opening bands live, so this was a very nice treat to get 4 opening bands that I wanted to see, as well as 2 nights of Metallica. Pantera was great. I will fully admit, as a lot of the critics will say, it is sort of a Pantera tribute act. Like, it was big, it was impactful, but you are missing Dimebag because of what happened, and Vinny because of his passing as well. So having Zach there is great, having Charlie Benante there was great, but it wasn't as good as I had hoped. I don't know what I was hoping for, but I just felt a little lackluster, as great as those players are. So take that into consideration. They played a great set. Again, I don't know. I'm not a hardcore Pantera fan, but I know a lot of their stuff. 5 Minutes Alone, Broken, Walk, obviously, Cowboys from Hell, all those ones. But again, great show. And so then Metallica came out, and it was a hell of a show. I gotta admit, if you are going, know that there are four drum sets for Lars, which means the stages are kind of broken out into quarters. So for every 4 or 5 songs, depending, the drum kit is going to move drum kits. So if you start at a corner where Lars's drum kit is, he will move throughout the rest of the show. That is going to affect some people's viewing area, because if I'm at the stage here and he's right there, at some point he's going to be behind me, and I'm going to be now at the farthest area from the pit unless I want to follow, which some people did. I don't, because I don't really want to push people around, and if people are there, they've been there for a while, so I'm going to let them have their spot. When it comes to songs, it was a very mixed bag throughout both nights. A lot of 72 Seasons stuff on the first night, which I heard a lot of people have critiques of. It's not my favorite album. I'm also of the age now where I don't have a ton of time to sit down and listen hardcore to albums like I used to. There are some good songs on it. Just there was a few that I was like, I think I know this, but not really. The highlights of the show, I was on, like I said at the beginning, I was on drum kit 4, which was later in the set. When James does the Sad But True intro, he is literally over my head. I'm looking literally straight up at him. I had a girl next to me who joked, she's like, "You're so close to James." And I looked at her, I'm like, I've now been closer to James's balls than his face, because he's this high on me. And even like his feet are at my nose. So I'm like, yep, that's James's crotch. So many fans would love to be in my position right now, but it was so cool having him that close. And that was pretty much it. I did end up getting a couple guitar picks from night 1, which I was really happy about. If you don't know what they look like, they have an ice skate on one side, and they have the Saturday 72 Seasons on the other side. Now we're on to show 2, day 3. This is the interesting day. I woke up and I felt sick. Completely honest. My wife had just come back from New Brunswick, seeing family. She always catches a cold coming home, without fail. So when she came home, she had the sniffles, and we did our best to avoid each other. We still live in the same house. We slept in different rooms, but we still live in the same house. We knew it was going to happen. It was just trying to get it as far away from me as I could. Saturday, I was sick. My throat was raw. 100% knew it was sick. But I was not going to miss the second show. Had to be there at the same time. Had to be there at 2 o'clock. To do the meet and greet, you have to take a COVID test. I have heard from others that this is a stickler for certain people. I know there was one person in our group who admitted during the Q&A that she received this package because someone couldn't go. I don't know if that was because of a COVID test or anything, but yeah, they will pull you if you don't pass the COVID test, or if you say you're not taking the COVID test, you don't do the meet and greet. And I get it. They're old. You don't want to be the one to fuck up the tour because you're sick and you brought it in. So we waited outside. It was a little cooler. We were kind of getting a little cold, and we waited a little longer. And we went inside, and we went to the Black Box Lounge for one last time. We could go back up after the meet and greet, but I knew once the meet and greet was over, I'd just want to go straight to the floor. And after that, we were not able to go back up once the show started. So we went up to the lounge, got a couple more things to eat. The person who was leading us was very nice to gift us each the second day guitar pick, which is something I want to let people know. If you are doing the tour, or if you are doing the Nothing Else Matters, and you have the person who's going to help you around the venue, they probably are carrying guitar picks. ask them because they freely gave it out to us, and this will save you having to fight the audience and the crowd later on in the night for them. I should have, and I know this is me being freaking greedy, I should have asked for a second one because I have 2 of the first night, and I would love to display like one front, one back, but I can't do it for all of them. Also, when you get the experience, you get drink tickets. These are the drink tickets. These are, each day has a different guitar pick for the drink tickets, and you get 3 of those. So that's another collector's item that you may not realize is something when you get this package. So we go up to the Black Box Lounge. We are still not told who we are meeting. We go down to, I believe it's the batting cage dugout or something in the back. And we kind of sit there and we have a quick talk. We talk with the guy who's helping us. How are we enjoying the tour? How are we enjoying the experience? This is, I think, the second generation of this. So he was asking if anybody had done the first one, and this is the updated version, if there's anything that we should change or anything like that. It was actually really nice because he had a lot of information about the packages, what's changed. They're thinking of changing more stuff going forward, adding some things, taking some things away. So it'd be interesting to see what the next version of this is, because I think overall this has been a pretty good package, but there are 1 or 2 things I wouldn't mind changing that we'll talk about later. And then the 2 members came in, and the 2 members, if you haven't seen my photos, were Lars and Rob. Now, why is it only 2 members of the band? Well, I have read, and I completely understand why James particularly does not do these Q&As and these meet and greets. He used to. The whole band used to do an entire band meet and greet back in the day. James doesn't do it anymore. And I've read some reasons why, and honestly, I agree with a lot of them. And that is probably when you're someone like James Hetfield, you are one of the biggest, if not the biggest, name, face, whatever, in metal. With that comes a lot of fans who love you and adore you, which is great, but also when they meet you, they feel like this is the only time I have to meet you. I'm going to explain why you mean so much to me. And I've seen this happen at cons, so I can just imagine what he has to deal with. He's in a position where probably one every, I would not be surprised if it's less than 5. 1 in 5 people go to James and just trauma dump on him. Not in a bad way, but just be like, James, you're incredible. You're a god. Without your music, I wouldn't be here, and all that. That plays a factor on people. And at 60, having to deal with listening to that, and not deal in a bad way, but have to internalize that for over 40 years, that weighs on somebody. So that is what I've heard of why James doesn't do it. I completely understand. Would I have loved to have met him? 100%. But I get it. That, dude, my mental health and being able to survive a tour, I can't listen to 50 people every night tell me that if I wasn't here and I didn't write Master of Puppets or I didn't write Whiplash, I would not be breathing. Like, that's a lot to take in for anybody. And then from what I've heard, Lars is usually pretty busy on the first night, just making sure everything's running smooth and all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted. So it's usually Rob and Kirk on the first night, and the second night it's a little easier for them. So Lars usually participates in the second night, and then it's either Kirk or Rob. It depends. So we got Rob and Lars, which was really cool because, again, I'm a Lars fan. And actually, the group of guys that I'd kind of made friends with during the weekend, they knew how big of a drummer I was, how much of a fan of Lars as I was. So as soon as he walked in, they kind of looked at me like, Mike's going to lose his shit. And thankfully, I've got 10 years of working conventions. I didn't mark out as much as I thought I would, but man, was I kind of going, holy shit, I'm in the room with freaking Lars. And then they got up and we had individual photos with them. They were really nice. They asked us kind of the rudimentary questions of, hey, what's your name? Where are you from? That kind of gives them a talking point. They asked me where I was from. I said from Hamilton. And then it began. And one of two things happens with me. If they know my name, there's usually a comment about my name. And sometimes it's a comment about who I look like. And we went that route. After we took the photo, Rob stopped me and we said, who does he look like? And Lars said, and I will take this to my grave, Lars said I look like a young Edward Norton. And I said, thank you. Thank you so much, because I love that compliment, because I perfectly fine looking like Edward Norton. I said, no, I usually get Alan Ruck, Cameron from Ferris Bueller. That's usually the one that I see the most. And then I think Rob said something like John Hamm, and I was like, no, but I'll take it. I don't think so. I don't think I look a thing like John Hamm, but nice little interaction with them. And then we got to ask them questions. We got to talk about, many different things. And kind of going back to what I said about James, about trauma dumping, there was an individual in our group who did kind of tell his story about, Whiplash saved me and it meant so much to me. And someone else brought up that how much a song meant to them and all that. So even when they kind of told us, like, if you have a story to tell, we completely understand, but, try to keep it a little jovial. And but I do understand that some fans need to tell their story. They need to get it off their chest. And and Lars and them were great about it. He totally understood. I was very thankful to hear it. I wanted to keep the mood a little lighter, a little more fun. So I had a couple ideas for questions. The guy who was kind of running the Q&A brought it up a couple times during the before we went down and when we got down there. Like, there are Googleable questions. There are Googleable answers to some of the basic questions. What's your favorite song? What's your favorite album? How is it writing that? Like, there are questions they've answered a billion times. Ask them something they haven't been asked before, or something specifically personal, without getting into, in 1994, when you play Rogers Center, did you enjoy, like, that's a little too in-depth. So I was like, well, I'm going to ask something that has to do with me, because it's probably something that never been asked before. So, because I wanted to talk about my drumming, but I didn't want to just talk about drumming, I said, as someone who in his spare time loves to drum, which I do, thank you, Lars, I also cosplay. And I'm starting to do a lot of music cosplays unintentionally. Vic Rattlehead from Megadeth, Ice Nine Kills, The American Psycho counts. Judge Dredd's got the Anthrax knot in the helmet because I'm an Anthrax fan. If you were to cosplay a character on stage, what would you pick? And Rob was like, that is one of the weirdest questions we've had in a while, but he liked it. He said it's something very different. And I know everybody who knows me is like, you ask them a cosplay question. Again, it's something they haven't been asked before. It made them think instead of going, here's the 10 questions we get asked every time. Lars's answer was he grew up, he grew up as a runner, but he also loved reading with his son, The Flash. So he said he would want to be The Flash, which I thought was so cool because I'm thinking of doing a Flash cosplay. And Rob said Jason Momoa's Aquaman because of the resemblance. And I laughed. We all laughed at that because we went, yep, could totally see that. So maybe we'll get a cosplay show at some point. But yeah, we were there for maybe 45 minutes, I think, about 45 minutes. And then they left and we kind of had our free will to either go up to the black box lounge or back down to the stage. And I went down to the stage because I wanted to be there for Ice Nine Kills because I like Ice Nine Kills. I don't love Ice Nine Kills. However, after seeing them live, I now love Ice Nine Kills. They were so fun live, but more fun was watching the audience react to their stage show. There was maybe 3-4 people in the pit around me that were singing the songs. Like, I didn't think that many people didn't know them, but there wasn't many. It felt like I was one of the few that were singing a good amount of their songs, and I don't even know all of their songs. If you've never seen Ice Nine Kills before, they are a very horror theatrical band. A lot of their music and a lot of their music is based around horror movies, horror IP, different things like that. So they have they have elements of that. One of them is American Nightmare around the Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, American Psycho. There's one called The Shower Scene, which is Psycho, which is one of my favorite songs. They have a new song out about the movie Terrifier, which if you've seen or heard of anything of the Terrifier movies, you know it is one of the craziest, goriest modern horror movies that is getting a lot of attention. There is a moment in the show where Art the Clown, who is walking around on stage, murders a girl, and there is an unborn baby involved that they have fun with, which was like, I knew it was coming, but just watching, even looking at security, being like, what did I sign up for, was really fun. But yeah, they did a great job. Spencer, the lead singer, was running around his butt. They were probably the one band. They also have more members than anything else that does play factor. They used the whole stage. Suicidal Tendencies, Pantera, and especially the next band, Limp Bizkit, really only used sections of the stage. They didn't use the whole thing like Metallica does. So I think that was really cool, being able to see them use the full 360 of the stage. And then we had the one that I think everyone was super excited about. I've never seen these guys live, but I am a big Limp Bizkit fan. And I don't mean I stopped at Chocolate Flavored Starfish. I mean I listened to their new album. Like, I knew Dad Bod when they played that. Their new song that not many people know. And it was good. And that's the part that hurts the most, is that it was good. And the reason it was only good was because of where they played. They played to the majority of the crowd. The problem with that, though, is if this is the arena, or if this is the Ball Diamond, the stage is here, they're playing this way, I'm back here in the middle, and you have all this crowd back here that didn't really get involved in the show. They were seeing Limp Bizkit's back. And I was okay with it because I'm like, that's fine. They're playing for the majority of the fans. I get that. But it would have been nice if they were able to maybe move back to the back section and kind of go over us to the next side. But hey, I get it. It's their layout. They can do what they want. When it comes to song, they played all the hits. They played every single hit. They had fun little interludes. Yeah, it's Limp Bizkit. Like, if you're a fan, you would have loved it if you were there. Like I said, the only reason I didn't love it was because of just the way the stage was set up and where I was standing. It's a personal gripe. I completely understand. And then we had night 2 of Metallica, and this was the time when I am now moved to drum kit 2, which I wanted to hang out at because the guys that I had met throughout the weekend were standing there, and I was like, yeah, might as well hang out with them this time instead of by myself in the corner on number 4. This would unfortunately be my undoing, though. So we kicked things off, Whiplash, which was amazing. They moved to section 2. And at this point, if you've seen any of the videos, there's a monitor section in each corner, and there's a little yellow part that sticks out that the monitors are sitting on. That is where I am. And if you see my video that I posted on my socials, I'm pretty much doing this staring at Lars and going absolutely nuts when he's looking at me, when anybody's looking at me. The problem is, though, I am not good at preparing for shows. And it's my own fault and my own reasoning. I've had stomach problems my whole life. I've had, we'll just say inside problems. And because of that, I know what I can and can't eat, drink before I go into something like this, because I don't want to pay for a stupidly good ticket and have to run to the washroom every 5 minutes. Because of that, I don't usually eat or drink that much going into a show. Now, that didn't play a factor as much on night 1 because I was on spot 4, so I got the loudest and the craziest at the end. And at the end, I got to just let it all out. The show was over. I went home. This night, however, I went nuts on number 2. And then it didn't dawn on me, dude, your body's also fighting a cold. So by the time they moved to number 3, I felt like I was going to pass the fuck out. Like, I've never felt this bad at a concert before. I did have some food up in the Black Box Lounge. I did have a little bit of water and stuff beforehand, but I did not want to drink or eat anything because I didn't want to leave. So by the time they got to the 3rd stage and they started doing Call of Cthulhu, I'm leaning against the back because they're now here, and I'm this close to falling over. I'm that sick. And at that point, I made a very strong judgment call, and I left. Not entirely leave the show, but I left the pit. I went up and I grabbed a water from the concession stands and I got some air and came back down after a little bit. And I think I came down for Battery. And I'm glad I got that water because after Battery, they played Moth to Flame. And when I get sick, I get hot. And then I'm in the middle of the pit and all those flame pots are going off and it's roasting us in the middle. So yeah, I was feeling really sick by that point. Barely holding it together. I felt really bad because no matter what they do, I'm just, yay, this is fun. I don't want to be here. And that sucks because, again, I'm such a Metallica fan, but my body did not like me at that point. There was one moment where I think it was Sandman, and they dropped the beach balls. And I'm like, all right, man, this is it. Like, last song, chug some, like, the hockey thing of, like, chug some water, get in the game. Like, you got this. I chugged the water, the beach ball was coming over, I jumped, I smacked it, and I just went, oh. And I was back to 0. Like, that jump was all the energy I had left. I want to apologize to, I don't know his name. I don't know who he is, but I do want to apologize to the individual behind me. You will never probably see this, and you probably have no idea, don't even remember. And you might remember me because it looked like you want to punch me in the mouth. At the end, they ended up throwing guitar picks out, and I hadn't caught one yet. And one of Rob's landed behind me, and I saw him sort of fall, lunge into it, and I raised my foot up, and I stomped as hard as I could on that guitar pick. And he jumped up, and he's like, "You're going to step on my hand." And I'm like, "No, I'm not. That's mine." When I get sick, I seem to not care about anyone else. I felt so bad the next morning when I woke up. I honestly, though, I didn't care. I was so sick at that point. And then that was it. That was the end of night 2. Honestly, the set for night 2 was really good. Like, I really enjoyed set 2, even though I was sick. I think it was a better set. I think it was more encompassing of their career. I felt number one was very heavy on the new stuff, which is fine, but I know people are here for the classics. There was definitely some classics that they didn't play. Like, they didn't play Fade to Black. They didn't play Four Horsemen, which are usually pretty big staples of theirs. But overall, it was still a good night. After the show, though, we did not get to just leave, even though I felt like dog shit. We had to go meet up because we had to meet up with our friends in the tour that were helping us. And we were gifted that black tube back there has both posters from the day, from both shows. And we were also given this, which is something that I'm super happy about. A signed set list from both nights, signed by the band, which is really cool. It is just printer paper, so take that in consideration if anybody is getting the package and wondering, is it going to be laminated? Is it going to be... Nope, it's printer paper with a black Sharpie. So it's not crazy high quality. Was this worth $5,000 is the final Jeopardy question. Yes and no. Was this worth $5,000? Yes. For everything you get, if you are a hardcore Metallica fan and have never experienced the band like this before, yes, it is worth $5,000. Would I be going into debt over this? Would I be putting this on a credit card? No. If we were in the position of this was going to be something that would take us a very long time to pay off, I would not be thrilled. And it's not like they did anything wrong. The only thing I wish we got that we didn't is we did not get a physical ticket for the show, which is kind of something that's like, and most people don't care anymore, but there's a lot of Metallica fans out there who like making displays of it, and that's what I'm going to do. Like, I'm going to make a shadow box with all the stuff on it. I'm going to put the posters up. I would like to have had a physical ticket to put in the box. I'm going to probably make my own on Canva. And you can go on Etsy, and there's people on Etsy and stuff that can make them for you. But yeah, if this comes around again, I don't know if I would get it. It was great. And it was honestly, I've said it from the beginning, it was one of the most fun weekends I've ever had. Honestly, it was so cool meeting the Metallica family, hanging out with them, getting to know perspectives of other people seeing shows and everything like that. However, coming home and thinking to myself, okay, I now have to, if I was in that position, I would now have to figure out a way to pay off $5,000. No. Nope. Not worth it. And that's me. That's me. That's my sense of money and all that. If it's not free, if that's not the way you think and you're like, man, it's one of the only things I ever wanted and all that, I completely get it. And like I said earlier in the episode, my wife's logic made a ton of sense. Dude, they're in their 60s. Like, last time they were here in 2017, it's now 2025. That's 8 years. The next time they could be back is 2030 something. James is gonna be 68. Like, that's old. That's getting retirement age no matter what band you're in. So it was definitely something I'm glad I did, but when it comes to logistics of finances, I don't know if it would have been worth it. But because of the position I was in, it was a blast. It was an absolute blast. I got to meet my favorite drummer, the guy who influenced me to play drums. I could have easily trauma dumped all over them, but I didn't want to because not the way I am. Got a set list, got a whole bunch of guitar picks out of it, which was really, really fun. Got some cool posters, got an artist window poster. Overall, it was great. But yeah, money is definitely a factor for me. But again, that's me.